This is the unbelievable story of Jake, a 17-year-old Mormon kid who thought he had his whole life mapped out. Mormon missions, temple marriage, the whole package. But sometimes life has other plans. Jake was struggling in AP literature when his teacher assigned him a mentor from the local college. Enter David, 22, openly gay, and absolutely brilliant. Their first meeting was awkward as hell. Jake had been raised to believe being gay was wrong, but David was patient, kind, and never pushed. They started meeting twice a week at the school library. David would help Jake with Shakespeare, while Jake shared stories about his strict Mormon upbringing. Slowly, something shifted. Jake found himself looking forward to their sessions more than church on Sundays. David would smile when Jake made a good point about Hamlet, and Jake felt butterflies he'd never experienced with girls. One afternoon, Jake brought David a small rainbow pin he'd found at a thrift store. His hands were shaking as he placed it on David's desk. "I know this might seem weird, but I thought you might like it," Jake whispered. David's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever given him something like that before. That moment changed everything. Jake started questioning everything he'd been taught. He'd lie awake at night thinking about David's laugh, his gentle way of explaining complex literature, how safe he felt around him. The internal conflict was relentless. His faith versus his heart. His family's expectations versus his truth. One evening, after a particularly intense study session about Romeo and Juliet, Jake couldn't take it anymore. "David, I think I'm falling in love with you," he blurted out. The silence was deafening. David looked shocked, then concerned. "Jake, you're 17 and I'm your mentor. This is complicated," but Jake wouldn't back down. "Age is just a number, and you make me feel more myself than I've ever felt." David's resistance crumbled. He'd been fighting his own feelings for weeks. They shared their first kiss behind the stacks of poetry books. It was tender, nervous, and absolutely perfect. But their secret couldn't last forever. Jake's Mormon parents discovered text messages between them. The fallout was nuclear. His father threatened to disown him. His mother cried for days. The church elders got involved. Jake was given an ultimatum: cut contact with David or lose his family forever. The next few weeks were brutal. Jake tried to stay away but couldn't focus on anything. David respected the distance but was clearly heartbroken. Finally, Jake made his choice. He showed up at David's apartment with a suitcase and red eyes from crying. "I choose you," he said simply. "I choose love over fear." David pulled him into his arms. They knew the road ahead would be difficult. Jake lost most of his family and community, but he gained something more precious: authentic love and the courage to live his truth. 6 months later, Jake moved in with David. He started attending a progressive church that welcomed LGBTQ+ members. David helped him apply for college scholarships. They celebrated Jake's 18th birthday with a small rainbow cake. Today, 5 years later, they're still together. Jake works as a social worker helping LGBTQ+ youth navigate family rejection. David became a high school teacher, mentoring students just like Jake once was. Their love story proves that sometimes the most unexpected connections become the most beautiful relationships. Jake kept that rainbow pin. David wore it to their commitment ceremony last spring. Love always wins, even when the odds seem impossible. Their story reminds us that authenticity and courage can overcome even the most challenging circumstances. Sometimes the person who changes your life comes disguised as a mentor, but becomes your soulmate instead.